The last functional Legacy-class warship in the Terran space fleet floated silently in the shipyard's repair dock, its scared hull reflecting the dim light of distant stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation window, watching as repair drones worked to patch yet another series of stress fractures in the TSS Dauntless's quantum alloy plating. 20 years ago, this ship had been the pride of humanity's fleet. Now it was considered little more than a floating museum piece. "Captain, the Admiral's here for the inspection." Lieutenant James Rivera's voice carried a note of concern that made Chen turn from the window. Her first officer had served with her for 3 years, long enough to know that these inspections never went well. "Another decommission request, no doubt," Chen said, straightening her uniform. The Dauntless might be old, but she kept her crew sharp. "Let's not keep him waiting." Admiral Victor Hayes stood in the Dauntless's command center, his crisp white uniform a stark contrast to the worn utilitarian gray of the Legacy ship's interior. He was studying the main tactical display with the kind of expression usually reserved for examining ancient artifacts. "Captain Chen." Hayes nodded as she entered. "I've been reviewing your ship's performance metrics from the last quarter. Power efficiency is down another 3%. Hull integrity is barely meeting minimum standards. Even your quantum core is showing signs of degradation." Chen had heard this speech before, from 3 different admirals. "The Dauntless is still combat-capable, sir. Our last training exercise was against modern ships operating at 40% power," Hayes interrupted. "This isn't about the skill of your crew, Sarah. It's about the reality of modern warfare. The Legacy ships were innovative for their time, but that time has passed. The new Hyperion-class destroyers can output twice the firepower with a third of the crew, and use standardized quantum matrices that can't be modified in the field," Chen countered. "The Legacy ships were built to be adaptable, sir. The quantum core technology is outdated," Hayes sighed. "Look, I know you've spent years studying the original design documents, but even if you're right about the theoretical capabilities of the Legacy quantum cores, the power requirements alone make them impractical. We need ships that can deploy quickly, fight efficiently, and protect our colonies without draining resources we don't have." Chen felt her jaw tighten, but kept her voice level. "Give me 3 more months, sir. Dr. Patil in engineering has made a breakthrough in understanding how the original quantum manifestation circuits were meant to function. If we can optimize the power flow." "You have 2 weeks," Hayes cut her off again, but there was something different in his tone. "That's how long it will take for the decommission order to clear final approval. After that, the Dauntless will be scrapped, and your crew reassigned to modern vessels." He paused, meeting her eyes. "Make them count, Captain." After Hayes left, Chen stood alone in the command center, her hand resting on the worn metal of the tactical console. The Dauntless's systems hummed around her, a deeper, slower rhythm than the high-pitched whine of modern ships. There was something almost organic about it, like a heartbeat. "He's wrong about you," she whispered to her ship. "They all are." "Captain." Dr. Anita Patel's voice came through the comm. "You need to see this. We found something in the quantum core's secondary manifestation chamber." The walk to engineering took longer on a Legacy ship, another efficiency complaint from modern admirals. But Chen had always believed the ship's size served a purpose beyond simple poor planning. The Dauntless felt solid in a way modern ships didn't, overbuilt in ways that suggested its designers had been preparing for something more demanding than standard combat. Patil was waiting by the quantum core's main access panel, her dark eyes bright with excitement. The core itself pulsed with its characteristic blue-green light, but there was something different about the pattern today. "Look at this." Patil brought up a holographic display showing the core's energy signature. "We've been running the ship at modern efficiency standards, trying to match what the new ships can do. But these readings suggest the core was designed to operate at much higher power levels." Chen studied the data. "That's impossible. The energy requirements would be massive." Patel nodded. "But look at these resonance patterns. The core isn't just generating quantum energy. It's, well, The best way I can describe it is that it's learning. Every power cycle creates new quantum manifestation patterns. It's like the system was designed to evolve. Before Chen could respond, the ship's alert system activated. Lieutenant Rivera's voice came through clear and urgent. "Captain, to the bridge. We're picking up something on long-range sensors. Something big." When Chen reached the bridge, her crew was already at battle stations. The main viewer showed what looked like a tear in space itself, a wound in reality that pulsed with sickly purple light. "What are we looking at?" Chen demanded, taking her command chair. "Unknown, sir," Rivera reported. "The tear appeared 2 minutes ago, just beyond the Kuiper belt. Energy readings are off the charts, but they don't match any known signature in our database." The tear widened, and something began to emerge. Chen felt her blood run cold as the sensors revealed its true size, a mass larger than Earth's moon, composed of what appeared to be living tissue and crystalline technology merged into one horrific whole. Multiple smaller objects deploying from the main mass. Tactical Officer Maya Wang reported, her voice steady despite the impossible sight before them. "They're alive, Captain. Bioships of some kind. Thousands of them." As they watched, the bioships began to move with terrible purpose, their organic hulls rippling as they accelerated toward the inner system, toward Earth. "Fleet Command is ordering all ships to defensive positions," Rivera announced. "The Hyperion squadrons are moving to intercept." Chen watched as the pride of humanity's modern fleet engaged the alien vessels. The Hyperions were beautiful ships, sleek and powerful, their standardized quantum weapons designed for maximum efficiency. They didn't stand a chance. The bioships absorbed direct hits without slowing, their living hulls regenerating almost instantly. When they returned fire, their weapons, if they could be called that, simply ignored the modern ship's shields, eating through hull plating like acid through paper. "Fleet Command to all vessels," the emergency channel crackled. "Fall back to secondary defensive lines. Repeat, all ships fall back." The transmission cut off as another Hyperion squadron vanished from the tactical display. But Chen was hardly listening. She was staring at the quantum core readings on her command chair's display. The energy patterns were shifting, changing in response to the alien ship's presence, as if the core was trying to tell her something. "Dr. Patel," she keyed the comm. "Are you seeing this?" "Yes, Captain." Patel's voice was filled with wonder. "The core, it's resonating with their biotechnology. These patterns, they're exactly what the system was designed to generate. The legacy ships, they were built to fight something exactly like this." Chen looked at her crew, saw the same realization dawning on their faces. The Dauntless wasn't outdated. It wasn't obsolete. It was purpose-built for this moment. "All hands." Chen's voice rang through the ship's comm system. "Battle stations. Engineering, prepare to take the quantum core to full power. Not modern standards, but what it was meant to handle. Tactical, ready all weapons. Navigation, plot an intercept course." "Captain," Rivera said quietly, "Fleet Command has ordered all ships to retreat." Chen smiled, feeling the Dauntless's ancient systems coming alive around her, humming with power that had waited 20 years to be fully unleashed. "Send them a message, Lieutenant. Tell them we've spent too long trying to make this old ship fight like a new one. It's time to show everyone what the legacy ships were really built for." The Dauntless's engines ignited with a deep roar that shook the entire hull, driving the massive vessel forward to meet humanity's greatest threat. The ship that everyone had dismissed as obsolete was about to remind the galaxy that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. And this time, they had a crew that understood exactly how to use them. The bioships moved like a swarm of angry insects, their organic hulls rippling as they tore through the void of space. Captain Chen watched from the Dauntless's bridge as another Hyperion-class destroyer vanished from the tactical display, its advanced shields useless against the alien weapons. "Status of the quantum core," Chen demanded, gripping her command chair as the ship shuddered under the strain of full power. Operating at 200% of modern specifications, Dr. Paddle reported from engineering, her voice tight with concentration. The manifestation patterns are becoming more complex. It's like the core is adapting to their presence. On the main viewer, Chen could see the alien fleet spreading out, their biological ships moving with terrible coordination. The massive parent vessel, what Fleet Command was now calling the High Ship, hung back near the quantum tear, pulsing with sickly purple energy as it spawned more bioships. Multiple distress calls from the outer colonies, Rivera reported, his hands dancing across his console. The swarm is hitting everything at once. Mars' defense grid is already down. Europa Station reports total shield failure. The Hyperion squadrons can't even slow them down. Chen studied the tactical display, watching the pattern of the alien attack. The bioships weren't just powerful. They were learning, adapting to each new defense humanity threw at them. Modern quantum weapons barely scratched their living hulls, and conventional explosives were absorbed like raindrops into an ocean. Dr. Patel, Chen keyed the comm. You said the core was resonating with their biotechnology. What exactly does that mean? The legacy quantum cores were designed differently from modern systems, Paddle explained. Modern cores generate standardized quantum fields, efficient, predictable, but rigid. The legacy cores, they're more like organic systems themselves. They can modify their quantum manifestation patterns in real time. And you think this can help us fight the swarm? I think. Paddle paused, and Chen could hear the excitement breaking through her professional tone. I think this is exactly what the legacy ships were built for. Look at these design elements we thought were inefficient. The oversized power systems, the adaptive quantum matrices, even the reinforced hull structure. They weren't flaws. They were features. A massive explosion lit up the tactical display as Europa Station's reactor went critical, taking 3 swarm ships with it. It wasn't nearly enough. The bioships simply flowed around the explosion like water around a rock, continuing their relentless advance. Captain, Wong called from tactical, I'm detecting something strange. When our quantum resonance field touches their bioships, there's a momentary disruption in their hull integrity. It's small, but... Show me, Chen ordered. The tactical display zoomed in on a nearby bioship. As the Dauntless's quantum field brushed against it, the alien vessel's organic hull seemed to shiver, its biological systems briefly falling out of sync. Dr. Patel, Chen's mind was racing. Could we modify the core's output to amplify that effect? Maybe, Paddle said slowly, but we'd need to push the core way beyond safety limits. The power requirements would be enormous, and the strain on the ship. Do it, Chen interrupted. Lieutenant Rivera, signal Fleet Command. Tell them we may have found a weakness in the swarm's defenses. Captain, Rivera's voice was hesitant. Fleet Command is ordering all remaining ships to fall back to Earth. They're saying the colonies are lost. Chen felt her jaw tighten as she watched another civilian transport vanish from the tactical display, its desperate attempt to escape cut short by the merciless swarm. The modern fleet was in full retreat, their advanced technology proven worthless against this biological nightmare. We're not retreating, she said firmly. The Dauntless was built for this. We just didn't know it until now. The next hour was a blur of activity as Paddle and her engineering team worked to modify the quantum core's output. The Dauntless shuddered and groaned as power levels rose far beyond what any modern ship would dare attempt. Warning alerts flashed across every console, but Chen ignored them. She trusted her ship, trusted the engineers who had built it 2 decades ago, with this exact scenario in mind. Core modifications complete, Paddle reported finally. Captain, I should warn you. We're operating so far beyond normal parameters that I can't guarantee the ship's structural integrity. One wrong move and we could tear ourselves apart. Noted, Chen said. Tactical, target the nearest bioship. Let's see what this old girl can really do. The Dauntless's weapons powered up, but this time they were different. Instead of the standard quantum beams used by modern ships, the legacy vessel's modified core pumped out waves of rapidly shifting quantum energy. The bioship never had a chance to adapt. Where modern weapons had merely scratched the alien vessel's hull, the Dauntless's attack tore through it like tissue paper. The bioship's organic systems went haywire, its living hull literally tearing itself apart as the quantum disruption spread through its cellular structure. Direct hit, Wong reported, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. Target destroyed. Their regenerative systems couldn't compensate for the quantum disruption. Fleet Command is requesting data on our weapon modifications, Rivera said. The Hyperions want to adapt their systems to match ours. Chen shook her head. Tell them they can't. Modern quantum cores don't have the flexibility or raw power output to generate these kinds of patterns. The legacy ships were built differently, built for this. As if to prove her point, a Hyperion destroyer tried to copy their attack pattern. Its standardized quantum beams flickered and shifted, but the effect was minimal. The bioships barely noticed. Multiple swarm vessels on intercept course, Wong warned. They've identified us as a threat. Chen watched as the bioships changed formation, moving to surround the Dauntless. The old ship's successful attack had gotten their attention. Now they would see just how dangerous a legacy vessel could really be. All hands. Chen's voice rang through the ship's comm system. This is what we trained for, even if we didn't know it. The Dauntless isn't obsolete. She's the only ship in the fleet that can hurt these things. Let's show them why they should have paid more attention to history. The quantum core hummed louder, its energy patterns becoming even more complex as it adapted to the swarm's counterattacks. The Dauntless might be old, but age had only made it stronger. Like a forgotten weapon finally finding its true purpose, the legacy ship prepared to remind the galaxy that sometimes the old ways were the deadliest, and the swarm was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The Dauntless's quantum core screamed in protest as it channeled another burst of disruptive energy into the approaching swarm vessels. Two more bioships twisted and died, their organic hulls unable to maintain cohesion under the legacy ship's assault. But for every enemy they destroyed, 3 more took its place. Hull integrity at 62%, Rivera reported, his voice steady despite the constant vibration shaking the bridge. We can't keep this up forever, Captain. Chen knew he was right. The Dauntless was pushing far beyond its design limits, using systems that hadn't been fully understood even when they were new. But they were making a difference. The swarm's advance had slowed, their bioships forced to adapt to this unexpected threat. Dr. Patel, Chen keyed the comm. Status of the core modifications. The quantum manifestation patterns are becoming more complex, Patel replied. Each interaction with the swarm ships teaches the core new ways to disrupt their biological systems. But Captain, there's something else. Something in the original design specifications that we missed. Before Chen could ask for clarification, the tactical display lit up with new warnings. The massive high ship was moving, its purple-tinged bulk accelerating toward Earth with terrible purpose. Multiple quantum tiers detecting forming throughout the system, Wong reported. The high ship is calling in reinforcements. Thousands more bioships incoming. Chen felt her heart sink as she watched the tactical display fill with new enemy contacts. The Dauntless had proven it could hurt the swarm, but there were limits to what one ship could do. Even a legacy vessel couldn't fight an entire invasion fleet alone. Captain, Patel's voice cut through her thoughts. I need you in engineering. Now. Chen found her chief engineer standing before a holographic display of the quantum core's internal structure. The usual blue-green energy patterns had changed, taking on new colors and configurations that shouldn't have been possible. Look at this. Patel pointed to a series of equations floating beside the core diagram. These aren't just power generation systems. The legacy ship's cores were designed to create quantum resonance fields that could interface with organic technology. But not just to fight it, to control it. Chen stared at the data, her mind racing. You're saying we could potentially take control of the bioships? Not exactly. Patel shook her head. The system isn't that precise. But if we modify the core's output further, push it to generate these specific patterns. She manipulated the holographic display, showing a simulation of what she proposed. We could create a quantum disruption wave large enough to affect multiple swarm ships at once, maybe even reach the high ship itself. The power requirements would be astronomical, Chen said, studying the numbers. Even with the core operating beyond safety limits, it would burn out the core, Patel finished. Probably destroy the ship in the process. But it might be our only chance to stop them before they overwhelm Earth's defenses. Chen's hand rested on the worn metal wall of her ship, feeling the vibrations of its straining systems. The Dauntless had served humanity for decades, outliving all its sister ships. Now it might have one final service to perform. How long to implement the modifications? An hour, maybe less, Paddle said. But Captain, there's no coming back from this. Once we initiate the quantum cascade, we won't be able to shut it down. Chen nodded slowly. Do it. I'll inform the crew. Back on the bridge, Chen watched as humanity's modern fleet continued its desperate defense of Earth. The Hyperion squadrons fought bravely, but their standardized weapons were nearly useless against the swarm's adaptive biotechnology. Only the Dauntless, with its supposedly obsolete systems, could truly hurt them. All hands, Chen's voice carried through the ship's comm system. This is your captain speaking. By now you've all seen what we're up against. The swarm is unlike anything humanity has faced before. Our modern ships, for all their advances, can't stop them. She paused, looking at her crew, veterans, and young officers who had been assigned to this obsolete vessel, who had learned to see past its age to understand its true potential. But the Dauntless can. This ship, which everyone thought was too old and inefficient to matter, was built for exactly this kind of fight. Dr. Patel has discovered a way to use our quantum core to generate a disruption wave that could cripple the entire swarm fleet. But the cost? She took a deep breath. The cost will be the Dauntless itself. The bridge was silent as her words sank in. Then Rivera spoke up. We're with you, Captain. All the way. One by one, other crew members voiced their agreement. They had all seen what the swarm could do, had watched helplessly as colonies were overrun and civilian ships destroyed. If sacrificing themselves meant giving humanity a chance to survive, they would do it without hesitation. Dr. Patel, Chen keyed the comm. Begin the modifications. Bridge crew, plot an intercept course with the high ship. If we're going to do this, we're going to make it count. The next hour was a blur of activity as Paddle's team worked to reconfigure the quantum core. The Dauntless continued to fight, its modified weapons tearing through any bioships that came too close. But Chen could feel the strain in her ship's systems, the way the deck plates shuddered with each power surge. Modifications complete, Paddle reported finally. Core is ready for quantum cascade initiation. But Captain, we've discovered something else in the original design files. Something about why the legacy program was really canceled. Tell me. These ships weren't just experimental designs, Paddle said quietly. They were built because someone knew the swarm was coming. The entire legacy program was created to prepare for this exact invasion. But something happened. The files are corrupted, but it looks like there was some kind of political interference. Someone decided the threat wasn't real, that the resources could be better spent elsewhere. Chen felt a cold anger settle in her chest. How many lives could have been saved if the legacy program had continued? How many colonies might still be standing if humanity's fleet had been built to face this threat instead of chasing efficiency? Then let's show them how wrong they were, she said. All hands, prepare for final approach. We're going to remind everyone why the legacy ships were built in the first place. The Dauntless turned toward the massive bulk of the high ship, its ancient engines pushing it forward one last time. In engineering, the quantum core's energy patterns shifted and changed, building toward a cascade that would either save humanity or destroy everything in its path. They were about to discover which. The The void between Earth and the massive hive ship was filled with chaos. Bioships swarmed like angry insects, their organic hulls rippling as they engaged the remnants of humanity's fleet. The Dauntless pushed through it all, its modified quantum weapons clearing a path while its overtaxed shields absorbed punishment that would have destroyed a modern vessel instantly. Core temperature critical, Paddle reported from engineering. The quantum cascade is building faster than we anticipated. We've got maybe 20 minutes before it reaches the point of no return. Chen watched the tactical display as another wave of bioships moved to intercept them. The swarm had learned to fear the legacy vessel, understood that it represented a threat unlike anything they had encountered in their relentless expansion across the galaxy. "They're trying to box us in," Rivera observed, highlighting the enemy formation. "Force us away from the high ship." "Tactical analysis," Chen ordered, studying the patterns of movement. The bioships were coordinating better now, adapting to the Dauntless's capabilities. But there was something else, something in the way they protected certain approach vectors to their massive parent vessel. "Sir," Wang's voice carried an edge of excitement. "The high ship's defenses aren't uniformly distributed. There's a weakness in their formation, right here." She highlighted a section of the tactical display. "They're putting extra protection around this area, but it's leaving a gap in their coverage." Chen leaned forward, memories of her tactical training surfacing. "They're overcompensating. Whatever's in that heavily defended section must be vital, probably their primary control node. But they're so focused on protecting it that they're creating blind spots." "Captain," Patel cut in, "if that's their control center, a direct hit with the quantum cascade could disrupt their entire neural network. We might be able to take out the whole swarm at once." The ship shuddered as another barrage of bioweapons struck their shields. Warning indicators flashed across every console as the Dauntless's systems struggled to handle power loads far beyond their design specifications. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, Rivera reported. "Emergency containment holding, but we're losing structural integrity. If we're going to do this, it has to be now." Chen nodded, her decision made. "Helm, plot an attack course through their blind spot. Engineering, divert all remaining power to forward shields and the quantum core. We're going to give them one last lesson in why the legacy ships were feared." The Dauntless's engines roared to life, pushing the massive vessel forward with surprising speed. Bioships scrambled to intercept, but the legacy ship's modified weapons cut through them with devastating efficiency. Each blast of quantum energy caused their organic hulls to twist and rupture, unable to maintain cohesion against weapons specifically designed to counter their biological technology. "Multiple hits," Wang called out. "Enemy vessels showing increasing disruption patterns. The quantum cascade is already affecting their neural networks at range." "High ship is responding," Rivera warned. "They're redirecting their defensive screen, trying to close the gap." Chen watched as the massive alien vessel began to move, its purple-tinged bulk turning to bring more weapons to bear on the approaching legacy ship. "They've figured out what we're trying to do." Engineering, status of the quantum cascade. "Building beyond predicted levels," Paddle's voice was strained. "The core is generating patterns we've never seen before. It's like it knows what we're trying to do, like it was waiting for this moment." The tactical display lit up with new warnings as the Hive ship launched its primary weapons. Beams of biological energy lashed out, carrying corrosive agents that could eat through even the toughest armor. But the Dauntless's ancient shields, designed by engineers who had somehow known this day would come, held firm. "Shield integrity at 30%, Rivera reported. "Core temperature reaching critical levels. We're pushing way beyond safety margins." "Helm, maintain course," Chen ordered. "Tactical, target their control node. Everything we have left, right into their heart." The Dauntless pushed forward, its hull groaning under the strain. Around them, bioships scattered as the quantum cascade's effects began to spread. The legacy ship's modified core was pumping out waves of disruptive energy that played havoc with their organic systems, causing confusion and disorder in the usually coordinated swarm. 5 kilometers to optimal firing range, Wang announced. 4, 3. A massive blast from the Hive ship caught them on the port side. Emergency alerts screamed across every console as entire sections of hull plating were torn away. Port shield generators offline, Rivera shouted over the noise of buckling metal. We're losing power to decks 8 through 12. Reroute everything to the core, Chen ordered. We only need a few more seconds. 2 kilometers. 1. The Hive ship loomed before them, its massive bulk filling the main viewer. At this range, they could see the details of its biological construction. Living metal merged with organic tissue in ways that defied conventional engineering. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. Captain, Patel's voice carried a note of awe. The quantum cascade. The patterns it's generating. I think I understand now. The legacy ships weren't just built to fight the swarm. They were built to communicate with them, to understand them. That's why the core can adapt to their technology so effectively. Chen felt a chill run down her spine as she processed this revelation. The engineers who had designed the legacy program hadn't just been preparing for war. They had been trying to bridge a gap between two fundamentally different forms of technology. But something had gone wrong. Their warnings ignored until it was too late. Firing range achieved, Wang reported. Core energy at maximum. This is it. Chen took one last look at her crew, veterans, and young officers who had chosen to stay aboard an obsolete vessel, who had discovered its true purpose just in time to make the ultimate sacrifice. For Earth, she said quietly. Fire. The Dauntless's quantum core released its final burst of energy, 20 years of potential finally unleashed in one devastating moment. The cascade wave struck the Hive ship's control node like a tsunami hitting a coastline, raw power meeting biological complexity in a clash that would determine the fate of humanity. And in that moment of contact, as two vastly different technologies met in a final devastating exchange, the true legacy of the ship everyone had forgotten was about to be revealed. Time seemed to slow as the quantum cascade wave struck the Hive ship. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then reality itself appeared to shudder as two vastly different technologies collided in a spectacular display of light and energy. The Hive ship's organic hull began to ripple and twist, its biological systems struggling to adapt to the legacy ship's attack. But something unexpected was happening. Instead of simply destroying the alien vessel, the quantum cascade was creating new patterns, complex interactions between biological and quantum systems that no one had predicted. Captain, Patel's voice was filled with wonder. The core, it's not just disrupting their systems, it's establishing a connection. The original designers, they built these ships to do more than just fight. They were trying to communicate. On the main viewer, the Hive ship's purple glow began to change, shifting through colors as its vast neural network responded to the Dauntless's quantum signals. The bioships surrounding them started to move erratically, their coordinated attacks falling into chaos as the connection between the legacy ship and their parent vessel grew stronger. Multiple system failures, Rivera reported, his hands dancing across his console. Hull integrity critical. The quantum cascade is tearing us apart. Chen gripped her command chair as the deck plates buckled beneath her feet. Dr. Patel, what's happening? The core is processing vast amounts of data, Patel replied, her voice barely audible over the sound of straining metal. It's like it's downloading their entire history. The swarm, they're not just mindless invaders. They're refugees. Images began to flash across the bridge's secondary displays, fragments of alien memory pulled from the Hive ship's neural network. Chen saw glimpses of a distant galaxy consumed by darkness, of countless worlds fleeing from some unstoppable force. The swarm hadn't come to conquer. They had come seeking new worlds to replace those they had lost. They can't control it, Patel continued. Their biological technology is too powerful, too aggressive. They try to communicate, but their attempts at contact always end in destruction. The legacy ships weren't just weapons. They were meant to be translators. Understanding dawned on Chen as the pieces finally fell into place. The engineers who had designed the legacy program hadn't just been preparing for war. They had been trying to prevent one. They had seen this coming, had built ships capable of bridging the gap between human and alien technology. But their warning had gone unheeded, their program shut down by those who couldn't see beyond their own limited perspective. "Can we stabilize the connection?" Chen asked, even as more warning alerts flashed across her console. "Negative," Paddle replied. "The core is beyond red line. We got maybe 2 minutes before total system failure." "But Captain, we're still receiving data. The swarm, they're trying to respond." The hive ship's colors continued to shift, its massive bulk now glowing with a soft blue light that matched the Dauntless's quantum core. Around them, the bioships had stopped attacking, hanging motionless in space as if waiting. "They want to stop," Paddle said quietly. "They never wanted this war. But they can't control their own technology. The legacy ships, we were supposed to help them, to show them how to balance biological and quantum systems. That's why our core can adapt and learn. It was designed to teach." 1 minute to core breach, Rivera warned. "Captain, we need to evacuate." But Chen wasn't listening. She was watching the tactical display, seeing how the swarm ships were responding to the Dauntless's quantum signals. They were learning, adapting not to fight but to communicate. "Dr. Patel," she keyed the comm. "Can we transmit everything we've learned? Send the core's data to Fleet Command." "Already doing it," Paddle replied. "Every scrap of information about the legacy program, every detail about the swarm's technology and history, it's all going out on emergency channels. But Captain, the core is going critical. The energy release will be massive." Chen looked at her crew, brave men and women who had served aboard an obsolete vessel, who had discovered its true purpose just in time to make a difference. They had thought they were preparing for one final battle. Instead, they had discovered something far more important. "All hands," she announced, her voice carrying through the ship's straining comm system. "Abandon ship. Get to the escape pods. The Dauntless has one last gift to give." As her crew evacuated, Chen remained on the bridge, watching as the quantum cascade reached its peak. The connection between the legacy ship and the hive ship was stronger than ever, two vastly different forms of technology finally finding a way to work together. "Core breach in 10 seconds, Paddle reported from her evacuation pod. "Captain, it's been an honor." "The honor was mine," Chen replied, watching as the last escape pod launched. The Dauntless wasn't obsolete. She was just waiting for the right moment to fulfill her true purpose. The quantum core detonated in a spectacular explosion of blue-white energy. But instead of destruction, it released something else, a complex quantum biological matrix that spread through space like a wave. As the Dauntless broke apart, its final legacy washed over the swarm fleet, teaching them what the legacy program had discovered 2 decades too late. That understanding was more powerful than conquest, and that the oldest solutions were sometimes the most important ones. 6 months later, Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation window of humanity's new joint research station, watching as human and swarm ships worked together to construct a new class of vessel. The legacy program had been revived, its principles now being used to create ships that combined the best of both species' technology. The Dauntless was gone, but its sacrifice had achieved something greater than victory in battle. It had shown 2 different civilizations that the past held wisdom the future needed, that sometimes the old ways weren't obsolete, just waiting for the right moment to reveal their true purpose. As she watched a bioship dock perfectly alongside a human vessel, its hull now glowing with the same soft blue light that had once filled the Dauntless's quantum core, Chen smiled. Her old ship had taught everyone an important lesson. That progress wasn't always about moving forward. Sometimes it was about remembering where you came from, and understanding that the greatest achievements came from bridging the gap between the old and the new. The legacy ships had been built not just to fight, but to understand. And in the end, that understanding had saved two civilizations from a war neither had truly wanted. It was a legacy worth remembering, and one that would shape the future of both species for generations to come.